All right, hello again. I know it's been a little while, but I'm back with the recordings. Been a busy couple weeks, and then today is that awaited Arsenal kind of thoughts video that I wanted to make. Um, the setup is it's not as good as it was in the previous videos, but I'll get back to it sometime next week when I get back to dropping videos on a bit more consistent basis. I want to do at least like one or two a week. But yeah, let's get into Arsenal. Again, same format as like the Barca video, as the Real video, as the Liverpool video. I'm just gonna kind of ramble and then see where we can go from there. So Arsenal have already played two games this season, one against United and then one against Leeds. They were, I guess, visually outplayed against Manchester United in that first game, and then obviously they won 5-0 against Leeds. They're cemented in as like a top three team in the Premier League. They have been for the past 4 or 5 years, but their biggest issue is the fact that they can't get over the hump. They owe, like, obviously 3 seasons in a row at second place. No trophies to show for it. Just an FA Cup as of recent memory. Not good enough. Not good enough for Arsenal. And they've made a lot of changes to the squad. So kind of going through the squad to begin. They brought in Kepa. They brought in Mosquera. Kibior is on his way out for Hincapie from Bayer Leverkusen, which I think is a huge, huge deal for this side. You get like even better center back depth. I think they have the best back line in Europe with Hincapie coming in with like Saliba, Mosquera, Gabriel, Timber, Ben White, Calafiori, Lou Skelly, and then Zinchenko. Like, I don't really consider him because these players are just way, way, way better. Yeah, so definitely the best defense in Europe, I would say, the best back line on paper, and then also like how they play in game. The midfielders they've upgraded with Norgard as a depth position, depth role. Ranieri recently signed a new deal. Mikel Merino can return back to that midfield role. Zubimendi's a new signing. He's such a big signing for this side. Declan Rice still have, and then they brought in Eze. Yeah, I think he's listed in forwards. Their new number 10, biggest signing of the summer for Arsenal. Thinking about that like left wing spot. I think this is a bit bigger than Gyökeres as well. Stuff Saka back to off of that hamstring injury. Obviously, they have their 9 now with Gyökeres. Madueke, I think, is a decent signing. The fact that they've made the Eze signing makes the Madueke signing a bit better, I think. Stuff Trossard, they re-signed him. I think that's a good deal for them. I think he'll go next season. One of Martinelli or Trossard will definitely leave next year, but I think it's good that they have them in the squad this year for reasons I'll kind of bring up later. Still got Havertz. Unfortunately, I think he's going through surgery right now for his knee, but it doesn't seem like it's that bad, and he should be back. And yeah, I think Arsenal are closed in this window. So yeah, I guess we can talk about the shortcomings of Arsenal last season, and I think tactically Arteta did such a good job last year, like making the most of the pieces that he has with like playing Merino up top and kind of creating midfield overloads to create chances. Odegaard being off form, a lot of injuries, Kai Havertz going out, Gabriel going out late in the season. Then they had Jesus with the ACL tear, Saka obviously going out. You brought in, you got the likes of like Noneri and Lewis Skelly to show for it now because of those injuries occurring. But yeah, I think the biggest downside of Arsenal last season was just their player availability and the depth that they had. I think their problem has been depth for the past like 3 years when they're trying to make that push. I think this year reaching the semifinals of the Champions League, and then last season, and then also like finishing second. In a season, I feel like if they didn't have injuries, they definitely would have won the league last year. But with those injuries in play, I think it was a real detriment to their side. And I think not only is the positions they brought in of big importance, but I think it's the depth that they've created. That's also like such a huge plus for them this year, and why I have them winning the league this year. I think if you're looking at the Premier League and you're looking at who has the best project for both winning now and moving forward, I think it's Arsenal. They just have such a complete squad, which I can't say for the rest of the teams in the Premier League. I think they have one of the most complete squads in Europe. They have every position and every position covered well. So, for example, recently in the Leeds game, they lost Odegaard, they lost Saka. Now, for Odegaard, not only do they have Eze that can come in, they also have Nwaneri that can come in. Out wide over here, Nwaneri can also come in here. It can also be Madueke. James Madison. Noni Madueke can come in on this side. Gyökeres goes down. They have Jesus coming back. They have Havertz obviously injured, but he'll be back in the long term. So it's just they have such a great balance to the squad now in terms of player availability. Now I guess we can go into talking about what changes Arteta can make tactically this year. So I guess we'll start with the backline because I think there's a least amount of changes there with Gabriel Saliba. Having Mosquera and now Hincapie at the back provides these two with like much needed rest in those like FA Cup, EFL Cup games, even like Premier League games that aren't as important. Having these two, probably the best center back pairing in Europe, with probably one of the best center backs in the world, two of the best center backs in the world, and the best center back pairing in the world. Giving them time to like rest, especially with like Gabriel, all those hamstring injuries last season to the whole squad. Gabriel had one himself. Saliba's been pretty healthy. Keeping him healthy is a huge point of importance. They have Timber now. Timber and Ben White can cover Calafiori, Mazzucchelli. I think they're fine. Calafiori did have some injury concern last year, but with Lewis Skelly now in the mix as well, alongside him, I think he'll be just fine. So not much tactical shift in the back line. It's just better cover. They have players that can invert, overlap. Timber is evolving as a player as well, who he was more seen as like that reserved player over here that allowed Odegaard to kind of go up the pitch and Saka to be kind of on an island. And while this disconnect was there was good cover there. So they could push their midfield like this, or push their back line like this, and then push players up. I think Timber has adopted more of like that forward role to cover, because I think of Zubimendi's inclusion and him like kind of being able to drop here and kind of dictate play from here proves fruitful for Arsenal. But before we get into that, let's just talk about the midfield as a whole. Close the back line and then go into midfield. So yeah, I think Calafiori and Lewis Skelly are pretty similar players. I think what Lewis Skelly offers in the middle as like, a player that can create that box midfield, I think is huge. Calafiori is a great runner for the team, so they have that dynamic difference. Now I guess we can move on to the midfield and talk about them. So the biggest signing in the midfield, obviously, is Zubimendi. You can argue Eze. I'll kind of get into Eze a bit. But Zubimendi, what he allows, being that like single pivot and comfortable in that single pivot, is he allows Odegaard and Rice to push on even higher and join this attack, and they can kind of form this sort of attacking structure with them up top. And then you can have Calafiori come in here, Timber kind of support out wide, and then Saliba and Gabriel. Having such a good back line allows you to push players forward more without the concern of being hit on the counter. Obviously there's a concern, but the player quality over here kind of covers for that. So Zubimendi being like that single pivot, having like that free runner, free roamer in like Calafiori, I think you can probably see him and Miles Lewis-Skelly playing similar sort of, not a similar like role in the sense of player like comparability, more like the freedom that like Cucurella has at Chelsea. I think you'll see Miles Lewis-Skelly and Calafiori drift in like wherever in this team now. I think Lewis-Skelly, especially with like him transforming from a center mid to that left back, I think he'll be given free rein because he's so comfortable in these midfield zones. Calafiori will provide more cover in like these positions, but yeah, it just allows Rice to be even higher, allows Odegaard to be even higher, and kind of allows this attack to create a bit better. I think the one downside of this, or one thing they haven't been doing as much, is getting Zubimendi on the ball more. I think he needs to be touching the ball more. I think he needs to be more involved. If you want, like if you look at sides that play with single pivots, or like, a player like a 6 like Zubimendi, you see that they have so much of the ball. They have so much possession. You look at like Vitinha at like a PSG. You're not saying they're on similar levels, but these type of players, they have to have a lot of the ball. They're players that perform with volume, and that's exactly what Zubimendi is. I think Noneri, being able to now play in this sort of position, I think he's so comfortable in these pockets, these right half spaces, instead of being like a touchline winger. Saka is obviously the complete package, but Noneri, I think he's best in this position, and when he comes in for Odegaard right here, he's so effective. I think Rice is a different profile. I think he's like an all-round, like all-action midfielder type of guy, like box to box, great in the tackle, great in ball recovery, great in possession retention. He can kind of fill in all spaces on this left hand side, and he's great cover for when Calafiori wants to push on, or Martinelli wants to take on his man. So yeah, I think Rice is great there, and I guess Merino can now return to like his normal position as an 8. While I don't think he's that great, he's just great. He's just good depth to have. Same thing with like Norgard. I think they're both similar. They'll be used behind this midfield. Now let's get on to the attack, with like some of the biggest changes, with obviously Eze and Gyökeres. I think most people probably will predict Eze will play on this right hand or left hand wing. I don't know. I think like, yes, he will play here, and yes, I think Arteta will make it work because of the tactical flexibility this side has. One thing I did want to kind of bring back from like older videos, and a common theme is like squads that are really complete and tactically flexible in their completeness are sides that perform the best. It's either that, or you have an insanely good winning formula that just breaks apart these sides. But I think the sides that are complete mold into those sides that are like tactically flexible and all that. And I think Eze will probably play here. Well, it's not his best position. He can play here, and that's huge. It's the same with like Noneri. Noneri is a right winger, but he's better over here. He can fill in over here. You have Ben White and Timber. Same thing with the center backs. It's like all over the squad. Gyökeres, you have different profiles at these positions too, with like Gyökeres and Kai Havertz. Jesus when he's back, But yeah, back on topic, let's talk about Eze. He will probably play in this position. He's most comfortable in these sort of roles as this like left half space kind of attacking midfielder supporting the attack. He's not really that touchline winger that they're looking for. So I think to get the best out of him in this position, you're going to need a player that overlaps. And I think Rice and Calafiori can do that. This trio needs to develop a good understanding of between each other, good chemistry. Like if Calafiori is overlapping, Eze can come in here, and maybe Rice has more freedom to like either drop down or come back, come centrally and help support, and they can have something like this in attack. It's they need to be fluid in their positioning. Another role that Eze can play is right here in this left-handed kind of advanced 8 that Arsenal have right now, but make him like a true like left-handed 10. Maybe you can have Odegaard and Eze in this, but then obviously you don't have that left winger, and then you have to play Martinelli there, and you have this. I don't really see Arsenal switching out of this formation. That's why I'm not changing it. I don't think playing a front two of like Gyökeres and Saka makes sense. It just doesn't get the best out of both players. But I think this position is really well suited for Eze, and I think what he will maybe do is he can push Odegaard a little. I think Odegaard, being the captain, he's obviously, his place is very, very cemented in the lineup, but he hasn't been performing the best. He's been very passive, and he's kind of continued on into this season. So if he doesn't improve, I can see Eze kind of taking a spot, and Arsenal slightly tweaking the midfield to have a system like this. Maybe you can have Nani here instead of Martinelli, but one or the other. And then having Eze here, I think it maximizes his strengths. But what I think obviously will happen is this with Odegaard here. It's just up to Arteta to kind of get Eze in those positions that he's most effective, and then one of Calafiori or Lewis Kelly, whoever plays here, is gonna have to play more as like that traditional, you know, overlapping fullback. I think Ben White does a great job of it with Saka on this side, but now that Saka is like developed, he's older now. He's an all action, all around, complete winger. You know, he's great on the touchline. He's great coming inside. He's great at crossing. Great at cutting inside, shooting on his left. He's one of the best wingers in the world. Eze has some, like, you need to put him in the right position to maximize his strengths. He's not like an all-around winger. I would have preferred if Arsenal went all guns blazing for Rodrigo, because I think, again, he's an all-action wideout, an all-action left winger that they can, you know, I think that complements his side really well. I think he fits his side better than Eze does, but I think Eze provides him with good flexibility that maybe you know, Rodrigo couldn't have. So yeah, that's the whole situation with Eze. I think he's going to perform really well. I think he helps his Arsenal side a lot, especially with like Odegaard now out and Saka out. I can see like this Martinelli, it could be Nwaneri, what's that guy's name? Nani Madueke. Could be something like this with them two out, Odegaard and Saka. So yeah, flexibility. And now to conclude with the squad, we'll talk about Gyökeres. So y'all already know like my opinion on Gyökeres. I've kind of talked about it in the Ballon d'Or video. He's a good striker, and he's definitely going to score goals for Arsenal this year. But I think the way that Arsenal want to play, it doesn't maximize his strength. He's a great transition striker, running into space, kind of attacking high lines. You know, he's not like a silky dribbler. He is not really that like target man type of 9, I would say. He's more of a runner. If you look at his goal against Leeds, it directly came from a ball over the top, and he ran onto it into that left hand, you know, left-sided space, cut in, and then scored on his right. He's best in those positions. I do think Eze does help that a little bit, but what Eze does like help more is Arsenal wanting to be that possession-based side and holding possession high and creating chances. Like they all want to be like here, you know. This is kind of how Arsenal would like to play. Like have a wide man, maybe in Saka, Odegaard pushing in, Timber pushing higher, Zubimendi maybe dropping in. Maybe Rice goes out wide, maybe Rice stays right here, Calafiori goes out wide, but they want to push players up, and I don't think that maximizes Gyökeres' strength, because he's not like a player you can like play off that well. Like I think there are better strikers on the market for that, but he is so good at running and like attacking the box. I think he's good box presence. I think Saka will benefit a lot. I've talked about that in my Premier League prediction videos as well. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if Arsenal can get the most out of their new striker. But yeah, other than that, it's like mainly only praise for Arsenal. I really like their squad this year. I'm really excited to see them play. Obviously, they have that big game against Liverpool, which I think they will win. I do see, you know, Eze playing a prominent role in that. It'll be his debut. No Saka, no Odegaard. I don't think it's any problem, because I still think Arsenal have enough in the attack to. Arsenal, first, they have more than a capable defense to hold off Liverpool. And they have an attack that can really puncture that back line of Liverpool, which is like weak. I think they'll win, you know, 3-1. I think it'll be it'll be like a convincing win when people watch it. I do think those two sides are still the best sides. It doesn't mean Liverpool are like out of it. They're you know, a bomby side. Like no, they're still gonna finish top 3 minimum. They have some things to figure out the back line. It's something that I talked about in the Liverpool video I made too, but exciting game nonetheless. Arsenal, you know, hopefully y'all don't suffer too many injuries like you did last season this year. I think the squad is great. I think you have great cover at every single position. I think there's so much tactical flexibility with this side. Yeah, I just think don't let the pressure overwhelm you. I think Arteta will manage that well. Y'all just need to, you know, perform in March, April, May. March, April, May is the time for Arsenal to really perform. And up to getting them up to that stage to be still at that competitive level. I think they have a complete squad for that. So definitely a trophy. You need a trophy this year. I don't think any of the fans will accept nothing less than a Premier League or a Champions League. If you deliver like a cup trophy, like it's something, but you guys have one of the best squads in Europe right now. Definitely the most complete. I know I've said that a lot of times now. But yeah, Arsenal, really high ceiling this year, highest it's been under the Arteta, kind of management. And yeah, hopefully they make the most of it. Hopefully you guys enjoy the video. I have one dropping Monday. It'll be like I know I said like I was gonna do like Real Madrid like reviews after every match. Because of it being early season and then also the international break coming up, I'm gonna let the match tomorrow against Mallorca go, and then on Monday I'll make like a Real Madrid roundup video where I'll talk about all the first 3 games. I'll talk about pros and cons. I'll talk about what I predict will happen, what I want to happen. I'll also talk about the Champions League draw for Real Madrid, and if you want like a full video on the Champions League draw, I can also do that. I was thinking to do like a big video where I go through everybody's kind of Champions League matchups, predict each of them, and then obviously they'll have like points at the end, and I'll predict the whole league phase. So I guess that's a big video that I could drop. I'll do some work on that, but yeah, let me know what you guys think of Arsenal this year. Are you guys excited as I am to watch Arsenal play? And yeah, all right, I'll see y'all in the next video.